Welcome to the first Godless Bitches of 2012. I'm your host, Beth Presswood, here with Lynnea Glasser.
Hello.
And Tracie Harris.
Hello.
Jen Peeples could not be here today. So, how was everyone's holiday?
All of them were good.
Yeah, mine were good too.
All of the different holidays. It was fun. Fun times.
Well, mine was great. Me and Matt went on a 3,600-mile, 11-state mega road trip honeymoon family Christmas thing.
Sounds like a lot of things to put together in one. They can all be stressful in their own different ways.
Yeah, it was pretty good though. It was a lot of fun. So, I was planning to do another podcast before the break, but we just couldn't get to it. Too much stuff going on. So, we did miss a lot of things. There's a lot of news to catch up on. First off, we did get 10th place in the Female Atheist of 2011 Awards at Jen McCright's Blag Hag. Rebecca Watson got number 1.
Yay.
So, yay. I love her, personally.
You know, considering how new this podcast is, that's pretty... We shut up the ranks pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, to get any votes is great. We thank everyone that voted for us. Greta Christina was number 2, and Jessica Ahlquist was number 3. And just very recently, only a couple hours before we started this podcast, found out that Jessica Ahlquist won her lawsuit against the Cranston School District, and they have to take that prayer down from the school's walls. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah.
They wasted all that time and money fighting it.
Oh, yes.
You guys
Wasted it.
Wasted.
It's blatantly unconstitutional. I don't even see how people just get away with it, but they do. So she got 3rd place, and Natalie got 5th place.
Wow.
And she's very new to this, so congratulations to her. Also, Ophelia Benson, Ian Hircia Lee, Amanda Marcotte, who I love. Everyone should be listening to Reality Cast podcast. Everything about reproductive health. I get half my reproductive health news from her. And Godless Bitches, 10 votes. Woo! So we are thankful for every one of those. So, our first story is something that we have to bring back. It did happen a couple weeks ago, I think, but it is so egregious. Plan B is a drug that you take after unprotected sex, or if a condom breaks, or if you're raped. It's emergency contraception. It cannot cause an abortion. The vast majority of people don't even think it can block implantation. It just prevents you from ovulating after sex. It was up for on-the-shelf sale. Right now, it's technically over the counter. Behind the counter, you have to go to the pharmacist, and it can be given without a prescription if you are 17 and up, or with a prescription if you are 16 and under. Well, not only did the FDA, the scientists at the FDA, say that you should be able to get it at any age without a prescription, but it should also be on the shelf where you don't even have to go to the pharmacist. Kathleen Sebelius, I think that's how you pronounce her name, of the Department of Health and Human Services, in an unprecedented move, overrode this decision with a bullshit excuse about 10-year-old girls and 11-year-old girls being able to get this in the same aisle as the bubble gum. And President Obama supported her. This is an absolute betrayal of women's health, of science, and of teenage girls.
I'm curious what they think is the better option, the 10-year-old girl having a baby?
Apparently.
I'm just really curious. I mean, why they think that would be, in this crazy hypothetical situation, why they think that's better.
I don't even know. And first of all, the stuff's $50. So any 10-year-old girl going in there and trying to buy it is probably not going to have the money to.
Well, bubblegum these days is like $20. So, you know, that inflation. So it's not too far off.
And they kept trying to say safety. This drug is so safe. It's ridiculously safe. I don't even know that there's really been any adverse effects from it being over the counter for 17 and up. It's just a couple, 2 or 3 birth control pills worth of levonorgestrel, which I think is progesterone.
It can make you feel a little queasy, but that's it.
Well, you know what else makes you queasy? Being pregnant.
Being pregnant. Yeah, for real.
I mean, this is something, it's emergency. You take it after. It can't harm you. It's certainly far less harmful than other drugs that are right on the counter next to the bubble gum.
Yeah, like 500 Tylenol PMs. Yes,
acetaminophen. That shit kills, I think, at least a few dozen people a year.
Really?
Oh, it's quite dangerous.
Huh.
I mean, for an over-the-counter drug. Aspirin can make you bleed. Lots of things. I mean, it's... And the thing is, the only way this drug is even effective is if it is over-the-counter. If you have to go to the doctor to get this drug...
Yeah, but then it's too long.
Yeah, it's too long. It needs to be taken within 72 hours. 12 hours, 24 hours is even better. And, you know, people fuck on the weekend, mostly. Especially teenagers. Yeah. So, nobody's going to be able to go anywhere to a doctor to get this. And I know of no other drug, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners out there, where a certain age has to have a prescription and everybody else can get it over the counter. I don't know of any other drug that's age restricted like that.
Alcohol.
Well, but that's not a medicinal drug. That's, you know...
Marijuana. Wherever it's legal, I would imagine.
Well, you have to have a prescription anyway. In California.
That's true.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, because with alcohol, it's not really a prescription issue.
Yeah, alcohol has no prescriptions or anything anyway. So
alcohol,
there's no science to it. Zero. This is strictly a political decision so that no one can run ads that says Obama's letting your 10-year-old girls buy dangerous abortion drugs.
Yeah, I couldn't buy nighttime cough medicine without showing my ID. But maybe that was just their store policy.
That's because of the DXM in it. People get high off it. But could a 16-year-old buy that with an ID?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe that's the one exception.
Okay. So we found it.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, that sounds almost to me like, for example, if you try to buy lye, it used to be just you could get it anywhere. And now you can't hardly find it anywhere. You have to order it online. You have to sign all kind of waivers and stuff to get a hold of it. And that's because they use it to make drugs.
Yeah, the same with Sudafed. But, I mean, I think if a 16-year-old went up to buy a box of, Sudafed for a cold, I think they'd sell it. You just have to show an ID.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. And the thing is, they did a survey of pharmacies, and the pharmacies do not know the law. 17 and older can have it without a prescription, and the vast majority of pharmacies said 18 and older.
Wow.
Huh.
They do not know the law. Everyone thinks it's an abortion drug, despite the fact it cannot work after implantation.
It kind of sounds like what's going to happen is that anybody that needs it that's underage will just get an older friend to buy it for them. I assume males can get this too?
Oh, well, that's been a big source of controversy. Legally, males can.
No.
At the pharmacies, they've been denied in many places.
Based on what?
because they're ignorant of the law. Because the pharmacies that won't sell it to 17-year-olds are ignorant of the law that says that males can buy it as well.
That is really weird.
That is really weird.
The anti-choicers have basically won on this. They've gotten everybody to think that this is abortion. They've gotten everybody to think it's more restricted than it is because of their rhetoric surrounding it. They have completely dominated the conversation on emergency contraception.
That doesn't surprise me, but I mean, I guess it surprises me, though, that an adult male would have trouble buying it.
Well, I was just reading an article where a man went to go buy his wife some and was completely denied it, even when she got on the phone to the pharmacist.
I mean, I wonder what the pharmacist, like, since it's not it doesn't require a prescription if you're of age, so what would be his logic? I mean, it's not even like you're saying, well, this isn't your prescription, because obviously you're a male and this is written for a woman. This has nothing to do with it. It's like going in and buying Tylenol.
I guess maybe he thinks that the man's going to give it to someone unknowingly.
I have no idea, but it's just weird because if you don't need a prescription to buy it, I don't know how they would withhold it from an adult legally. Like, I mean, obviously it's not legal for them to withhold it, but I don't know what the pharmacist could be thinking as far as his grounds. That's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
There's a very strange, I think part of it too is this weird kind of taboo against giving men hormones, because female hormones, because it's tough, I know, for, you know, male to females to get hormone prescriptions, and it's there was a lot of research done with male contraceptives and hormones, female hormones, and the men were just like really skeeved out by this. So maybe this pharmacist was kind of enforcing this gender norm, like males don't take hormones. Males don't deserve to get hormones.
Well, what I worry about is trans men.
You mean
trying to get this and being denied?
You mean trans women? People who want to be...
No, trans men.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Who, you know, even if they're taking testosterone, that's not... Yeah. Testosterone is not birth control. If they still have, you know, vagina, cervix, uterus, they might still need this drug. You walk in and the pharmacist is like, oh, well, this is a man and I don't sell this to men.
That just happened recently. I was just reading about that. I wonder if I can find that article again.
Well, I think that was a cis man that was denied, but the principle still holds.
Yeah, if you don't need a prescription, if you're over a certain age, I don't see what difference gender should make.
No.
It should be available to you. You should be able to walk in, put your money down, and buy it.
I know.
I don't care if the guy's, like, you know, decorating his house with it. You know, it's like, there's no reason.
Yes. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's something that can be corrected. I
mean, it's expensive decor. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
$50 a pop.
$50 a pop.
But still, if that's what you're into.
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Yes, and I just hope that this decision will be reversed. Maybe when some people don't have to worry about getting reelected. So, coming back to Texas. Texas. So, Rick Perry's sonogram law, which was being held up in court, judge decided it's okay. It's a mandatory sonogram with a 24-hour waiting period after, where the doctor must offer the woman the chance to see the sonogram and must describe the size, development, age, etc. of the fetus. And then she has to go away and come back the next day if she really still wants that abortion. So, and this law is in full force as of now.
I like them to describe it using the kind of outdated model. It's like, oh, your fetus is in the fish stage. You know what I'm talking about? So, it's like, are you okay with killing a fish? Because that's where it's at.
Well, see, that's the thing. I actually got the information.
It's in the blob stage.
Well, see, that's what the LifeSite News and LifeNews.com and all those are griping about, because they're like, well, they just say it's just a blob of tissue. And on LifeSite News, there's this story, opinion piece. I would not have had an abortion if I had seen a sonogram. And these women are claiming that fetal development is such an important part of their decision process that they need to see a sonogram, which, first of all, these people are liars. When they do an ultrasound before an abortion, which I think they nearly always do, just to estimate gestational age.
Just for safety reasons.
I think it is standard.
Yeah.
They always check for gestational age. And I don't think there's any woman, well, I'm not going to say that. I would think any good abortion doctor would allow a woman to see an ultrasound if she wished to, and would answer her questions about the fetus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have any problem with it being available to anybody that wants it or thinks that that they would like to see that or have that information before they make a decision. I don't have any objection to that.
Right, but this law forces that,
Right.
and more importantly, forces the 24-hour waiting period when 90-something% of women don't live in the same county as an abortion provider.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
that's
to
the worst
travel.
part, I think.
But this idea that, I mean, so if I am not mature enough or not economically stable enough to take care of a baby, how does a fetus having a heartbeat change that? How does a fetus having arms and legs change that? It doesn't.
No, just
No.
like you say, it's the extra hassle of another day off of work and going, driving, and it's just another hurdle.
Well, I mean, these women claiming that if they knew these things about fetal development, it would change their mind. I mean, would it? Really? Would the emotion about the fetus being baby-like change the rational decision that they had come to when they went?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
the
know anybody
clinic.
I don't know anybody that's pregnant that doesn't understand the implication of, like, this is a potential child. Like, everybody understands that. You know that if your pregnancy goes to term, you're going to give birth. So, I mean, everybody understands what it is they're carrying and what the implications of that are. When you abort, you know what you're stopping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a sonogram changes that.
Right. That women are not stupid. They don't think that, a bun in the oven means it's a piece of bread in there until it changes or something. It's ridiculous.
So another thing, is this a vaginal ultrasound or is it a
I'm not sure of the exact language of the law.
Okay.
I think there may be a provision in there. Don't quote me. Maybe somebody can be searching. Is that they have to use the best equipment, or there might be some sort of language like that, which would be vaginal. When, depending on gestational age, a doctor might decide that a transabdominal or a vaginal, but he's given no choice if the law says that it has to be the most intrusive or best picture of the fetus or something like that, which I know at least one other law has had.
Because that's another thing too. I mean, especially if it was a rape, then having that kind of thing forced on you again is
if you're having an abortion, you're gonna have a speculum in there anyway.
Yeah, but you don't have to go through it yet another time.
True. I mean, we should let doctors use whatever needs to be used.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if there was some kind of like procedure where they checked for colon cancer and they said, "Oh, we got to do it twice, one day after the other."
Oh yeah, they wouldn't be having any of that.
Flipping shit because they would say, that's why would you put a guy through such a humiliating procedure, and even though it's medically necessary, this is not okay to do it twice. So there would be every interest in minimizing that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, but, when it's women controlling their bodies, they'll just put them through anything. And really, there's too much to talk about, even in the reproductive rights arena, which is why I think everyone should listen to Reality Cast with Amanda Marcotte. But South Dakota's law, they're arguing about that, a 3-day waiting period in which you have to visit a crisis pregnancy center, which is religiously affiliated, and the vast majority have no medical personnel or counseling or qualified counseling staff. I mean, you want to think crazy, that's just fucking crazy. Or Rick Santorum saying that contraception is a license to do things, and that Griswold v. Connecticut, which says there's a right to privacy in the Constitution, that states can't make laws banning contraception. He doesn't agree with that.
Oh, I have just came across something interesting in an article.
Mm-hmm.
It does say here, according to Associated Press, under the Texas law, a woman who has suffered rape or incest can avoid the sonogram requirement by certifying she's a victim.
But how do you certify that you're a victim?
I would think you're willing to like file a report. I don't know.
So you gotta prove that you were raped?
No, I think you probably just have to probably legally assert it.
Legally, okay.
I mean, I would guess that you
I would
have
hope
to sign
so.
something saying that you were raped or incest. But that means probably then I think there might be implications to that it might be filed. You know what I mean? You might not want it to be.
Oh, fraudulent claims and of course all the dirty sluts. Well, they just have to have that probe shoved right up in there.
Yeah, if ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Speechless.
I don't even know where to go with all this.
So, I have a few other news things.
Certainly.
They're older. I mean, obviously, because we weren't meeting every week, but here's a good thing. Egyptian courts ban military virginity tests.
Woot.
This is from the Wisconsin Gazette. So an Egyptian court this week the last week in December, ordered the country's military rulers to stop the use of virginity tests on female detainees, a practice that has caused an uproar among activists and rights groups. Virginity test allegations first surfaced after a March 9 rally in Cairo's Tahrir Square that turned violent when men in plain clothes attacked protesters, and the army cleared the square by force. And then 7 women were subjected to the tests.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, so it sounds like they arrested protesters and then tested whether they were virgins or not.
Which you can't do. There's no medical test.
Right, but even if you could, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what is it? Why? Like, what did they do with those results?
I don't know.
Because it's their worth, If they're if they're virgins, they're worth something. If they're not, well, you can just do whatever you want with them.
Yeah, then you could rape them. So they filed 2 suits against the practice, one demanding it be banned, and another accusing an officer of sexual assault. She was the only one to complain publicly about a practice that can bring shame upon a victim in a conservative society.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would guess it's how they determine who gets sexually assaulted, to put those sluts in their place for daring to have sex.
But, the virgins, they could still make somebody a wife.
Yeah.
So, they're not all
I would
lost.
imagine that's what it's for.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
I got another one. A judge this is from December 22nd. And from desertnews.com, a judge is weighing whether Mormon bishops should stand trial for failure to report abuse. So, it's not just the Catholic Church that has a problem with with abuse of minors. This
Standard Mormon? mainstream Mormon or FLDS?
It just says LDS.
Okay.
Not
Regular
FLDS.
Mormon.
What's the difference?
Well, you know, the FLDS is the fundamentalist polygamous Mormons.
Okay. Yeah, so he told a 16-year-old girl not to contact authorities in late July after she met with him in his capacity as a bishop and told him that she had been sexually assaulted. So, it sounds like, you know, he just said to pray on it and not to report it.
Wrong answer.
No doubt.
I'm pretty sure as a religious official, he's a mandatory reporter.
She should consider what her abuser was going through and also consider the potential harm her allegations could cause.
Wow.
Yep. And that's why she didn't need to contact the police.
Who considers the harm
I'm surprised
that happened to the rape victim?
I bet you this guy's getting recruitment letters from the Catholic Church.
Yeah. She was 16, though, so that's a little old for the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I just meant his advice. He would make a good bishop or something.
That's actually really one of the common things that allies of abusers will say is, you know, you'll end up hurting the abuser. They don't say the abuser. You'll end up hurting that guy, that girl. This will be really damaging to their record. They'll lose their job. They'll be a pariah, and it's like, well, they should.
Yeah, hurt them.
Yeah,
hurt them all day long.
And people who get abused too by their partners have that same concern. They say, you know, I don't want to do that.
Seems to be a concern their abusers don't share.
Yeah, no, they don't care.
They're not worried about the implications of what they're doing or repercussions if they're found out.
Pretty much because they don't get taken to task for it. Once they do get taken to task, that's when they change because they're being forced to externally. But if nobody's taking them to task, they have no motivation to change, and they don't get caught, and you know they don't get held responsible.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is if somebody doesn't care, if somebody doesn't care enough to not molest someone, they don't care what this would do to their reputation. So if you're being molested, don't be worried about protecting the person who doesn't care. I mean, if they cared about the implications of what would occur after they were caught for something like this, they wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly, yeah. Once you do that bad thing, you deserve the bad consequences. Pretty ridiculous.
Yep. So what else?
We got one other
heartwarming stories.
One other heartwarming story. And I feel like we kind of covered this before, but I think it's just an ongoing thing. This is from Spiegel.de. And it's these ultra-Orthodox Jewish people who are attacking little girls because they're being dressed too sluttily, which is, you know, not entirely covered.
And aren't they usually in school uniforms? Is this the school?
Yeah, they're school kids.
Yeah, so they're wearing school uniforms. You know, not the focus shouldn't even be on what they're wearing. But if you're going to focus on what they're wearing children's school uniforms.
Their skirts are only knee length, not ankle length, Tracie.
I know.
Obviously, they want it.
It's ridiculous, though. I mean, this is what a school has determined is appropriate for these children to wear. It's not even like the child is dressing themselves or the parent is dressing them in some weird way. It's like this is something that a school has broadly determined that the children should wear, that it's appropriate for this kids and their age.
Yeah, and this is becoming a big thing in Israel, is the ultra-Orthodox. They're growing, and they're causing divisions with more liberal Jews. And the ultra-Orthodox Judaism is just as bad as Christianity or Islam.
Yeah, it's any religion. So
it is full of misogyny.
And it was really weird. I read this one article that was talking about how the men in these factions in Israel are generally not working because they spend full time studying their holy books. Yeah. And so the women are working, And I just remember thinking, if I'm paying the bills in the house, and you're sitting at home and reading all day, guess who rules the house?
Oh, I don't know. That's kind of dangerous territory. I don't know if I want to go there.
No, it's one thing if you're making a contribution to the house. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you have two people that are contributing, I know stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody stays at home and reads a book all day. You go to work. You're doing everything. You're doing the cooking. You're doing the cleaning. You're doing the... I mean, you're doing it all. I mean, at that point, you've got a child in the house with you. Right? I mean... This isn't like a contributor who is simply contributing in ways that are not financial. This is somebody that's not contributing to the household, and you are doing all the work in the house, and you're bringing home all the money. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you don't need to put up with a misogynist if that's your situation.
Well, these men get a stipend from the government to study, and they're thinking about eliminating that because...
Well, that's called welfare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and, they're having, 6, 7, 8, 10 kids, and their numbers are growing, and I think the Israeli government is maybe going to start cracking down on that because it's getting too expensive to pay these men to sit around and read the Bible
like you said, the families are growing exponentially, and it's like a government payroll thing, religion, government payroll sect basically. And
there are lots of secular Jews
and it just
in
kills
Israel.
me. It just kills me that in the meantime, they're pissing all over their women who are the ones that are doing everything.
Yes.
That's what gets me.
And if all the women would just rise up and tell those men to get the fuck out.
Well, that's why they're going after kids. So here's what they did. This guy saw an 8-year-old and he spat on her. Because of her skirt length. Yeah, you're right. And, and some other guy told a woman, demanded that she move to the back of a bus. So this soldier, so he harassed a soldier and told this soldier lady to get to the back of the bus.
Yeah, they do this on, wasn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it on public buses and even with women that are not part of their particular denomination?
That was even in ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods in New York.
Yeah, okay.
And this, the problem's even worse in Israel.
That's the thing. I mean, if this is like your religious thing and you and your women in this group decide that that's what you're going to do and you both agree to it, that's fine, but you don't get to dictate to people outside your religion where they sit on a bus.
I don't know, even if it's fine with you and your woman, because you're going to have kids, and the kids don't have any say in that.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is people that are opting in, if a woman wants to sit in the back of the bus and she's made that decision, that's up to her. But if you want no woman to sit in front of you on a bus, then you need to be the first person on that bus and take the front seat. Whatever. Because if she comes in and sits in front of you, she's sitting in front of you, and if she's not part of your religion, then she's not mandated to do anything that is mandated by your religion.
Right. That's called being a secular society. I so want to go up there and get on those buses and just ride them all day in the very front seat.
In a bikini top. And
yes. In the sluttiest outfit I can manage. That is going to be our GB field trip.
Decorate your hair.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, put it in braids.
Sure. Yeah, adorn it. Lots of jewelry, makeup.
Yep. There you go.
It sounds pretty awesome. So those are all the news articles. If anyone else has any news.
I do have one thing I want to mention. There's a viral video that's been going around. I actually got it off Wingnut Daily, the crazy site, about a Girl Scout who's calling for a boycott of Girl Scout cookies because the Girl Scouts will let in trans girls. They say that, as long as a girl presents as a girl, we don't ask for proof of gender. And so she's calling for a boycott, and I'm sure she's heavily indoctrinated by her parents.
Boycott, ha.
So yeah, this is the thing. Girl Scouts, good. Boy Scouts, bad. The Girl Scouts of America is a wonderful, accepting organization. The Boy Scouts of America is, atheist phobic, homophobic, bigoted place. So I'm going to buy a whole bunch of boxes of Samoas and eat them, even though I do not need them. So reverse boycott of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, I'll be buying more than usual this year.
Right.
I really don't like Girl Scout cookies.
Give them away as gifts.
Okay, alright.
Oh, even Samoas? With the coconut and the chocolate?
I don't like coconut.
I like Thin Mints and the chocolate peanut butter covered ones. Now they have a new one. There's a new flavor. It's called the Savannah, what is it, Smiles? Savannah Smile, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lemon powdered sugar cookie.
I don't like lemon.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying they got a new flavor.
Alright, so everybody go out and buy those.
Yep.
One thing that was funny is I saw a video that was posted where this young girl was interviewing these two other girls that are, in Girl Scouts, and they had quit the Girl Scouts because of this, like, the same type of thing. One of them's Catholic, whatever. But the first half of the video, the girls were saying, not a lot of people know this, but, like, Girl Scouts is affiliated with Planned Parenthood, and they have these programs that everything she was saying, I was like, go Girl Scouts. And you're right. More people should know this, but not for the reasons these girls were thinking. It was like more people should know this so that they know to support this organization, that it's very pro women, and that it's, teaching these girls how to, stand up and, take their rights. And I don't know, it was just funny to me that all these things they were listing about how the group is supposedly bad were all things that I was just like, no, this is what a young woman should be taught.
I've got a question. Actually, especially to Lynnea.
Okay.
Do you think, that this is just because of what I know of some of your opinions before, do you think there is value to gender segregation in something like the Girl Scouts, or do you think it should all be mixed?
I think there's value to interest segregation. So if there are people who are interested in hiking, they should be able to do hiking. And if there are people who are interested in crafts, they should be able to do crafts. But I don't see any reason to segregate by gender. And we did that episode on the gender segregated schools, and how pretty much unhelpful that was. And it just created this really artificial, boys are like this and girls are like this, and this really rigid gender binary that was kind of weird. I mean, there's no reason to impose that without... Yeah, there's no reason to impose that.
With the more I learn about gender and the gender spectrum and things like that, it kind of does seem like that I don't know if there are any good reasons necessarily for gender segregation in things like Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or whatever. So I don't know. I don't have a hard opinion on that. But it is something to think about. But for what we have, Girl Scouts is a great organization.
I kind of wish that Girl Scouts would just allow boys in as well, because I feel bad for all the boys having to deal with Boy Scouts as the thing they have to go to.
They really have nothing. I mean, there are alternatives such as Scouting for All that have popped up, but they don't have chapters all over the nation.
Ben went to... Oh gosh, now I'm blanking on the name. But he went to the...
Was it
Camp Quest?
Camp Quest.
And he had a lot of fun at that. But I mean, once again, that's not something that was all over. And also, they said in their rules that there was no purpling. There was no mixing of boys in girls' rooms. And so I thought that was, like, really weird.
Well, you can't be having people having sex.
Oh, no.
Well,
whatever.
You can't really just be having a free-for-all orgy at the Camp Quest, but... Because I just don't think that's really appropriate for younger children, but...
Yeah, well, I don't know. There were teenagers there, too. And I don't know.
Still, have sex on your own
that's
time.
Who they were trying to prevent from having sex, but at the same time, like, well, okay, teenagers having sex. Whatever.
Well, they can have sex on, like, the other 51 weeks of the year, you know? I just don't know about that.
They'll probably never see each other again. It'll be this unrequited love.
I guess how I
that
would
never gets consummated.
I would look at something like that, kind of like when you're at school, they act as a surrogate parent. That's what a school is supposed to act like. They're supposed to be like your surrogate parent when you're there. And I can imagine a lot of parents probably would not be comfortable with their kid having a sleepover with the opposite gender.
Well, it's becoming more common.
Yeah, and it might become normal, but I'm saying that right now, I think if you were doing like a Camp Quest thing and you had mixed dorms, you're gonna be turning off every parent who says right now, I'm not comfortable with my kid having a boy sleepover and she's a little girl, or him having a little girl sleepover, and it's just not something that they're comfortable with. And if it becomes more normal and they become more comfortable, then it might not be a problem. But I think if you're trying to attract people, and you offer an environment that is something they're not comfortable with in their home with their child, they're probably not going to allow their kid to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to deal with that double discrimination of being an atheist camp, and I'm sure they don't want to have to deal with accusations of child orgies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can understand it, but I feel like at some point that's going to be seen as ridiculous.
Yeah, and it might. I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be. But I just know that currently you'd probably lose, kids.
Yeah, and sex is going to be a distraction from other things they're there to do. I just think.
Not true.
I just think so.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, we have one other thing we wanted to talk about. This is from Blag Hag, actually. So, Penn Jillette has a friend named Mallory Nasrallah, I believe. And she has a message to the skeptical community from a fellow atheist who just so happens to be female. I'll read, a little bit of this. For as long as I can remember, I have been welcomed into communities which were generally considered sausage fest. If not for the constant noting of this fact, I would never have noticed. You guys were always just my friends. As I've gotten older, these subcultures have become more vocal about wanting to include more women. The discussion has become, how can we make the community more welcoming to women? You have never been anything but awesome and welcoming. Who made you think you weren't? She goes on to say, I'm here in my various communities because I like you guys and I like the basis of the movement. The idea that you have to set time aside to cater to me because my vagina imbues me with some special needs is becoming increasingly insulting. These communities are about our minds, not our genitals, and as far as I can tell, my mind is just like yours. More recently, I've noticed a trend among men in my communities. You seem to have been told you're awful and need to change. Again, apparently because your genitals imbues you with an inescapable assholism. Please never believe this lie. She goes on to say things like, I like your jokes, I like your humor, I like the casualness and ease that no gender distinction has allowed us all over the years. If your jokes are teasing manner offend some people, so the fuck what? Someone will always be offended by jokes. If you want to make boob jokes, that's fine by me. You have, after all, been making dick jokes since you were old enough to make jokes. If you want to go free and uncensored among a group of like-minded people, if you want to try to acquire sex from a like-minded person, awesome, do it. Sex and friendship are amazing. You are not a monster for wanting these things. You are not a monster for attempting to acquire them. She again says, do not change. Don't censor your language around her. A few other things. Don't ever adulterate yourselves in an attempt to try to lure more vagina-possessing patrons. Keep joking with me. Keep being open and awesome and curious and funny. Keep trying to fuck me because I can't think of any reason why I would rather fuck someone else. We are, after all, human. So, basically, she says she hasn't experienced gender discrimination in the atheist movement, which, yay for her. But she's also dismissing real reports of some women have had of sexism they have encountered. And seems also straw-manning the reports of sexism as just dick and boob jokes and being hit on, which that's not all that's gone on. And it really reads to me like she's trying to say, I'm not like those girls. Like, I'm in the boys' club. And yeah, I just don't like that. I think there is some real sexism in the atheist and skeptical communities, and we need to combat it.
Yeah, so what she's saying is pretty much, you know, I'm not one of those horrible girly girls who's a girl. I'm actually a guy who happens to not have a penis, kind of thing. You know, I'm just on that level. Like, all those girls are just so dumb, aren't they dumb? But I'm special. I'm not like that. It's really, I don't know. It's really insulting. It's just that every sentence contains a different insult that it's so hard to pin down. I almost feel like I'd like to go through line by line what she says.
Well, you can say whatever you want to say. You know, let Tracie talk as well, too.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just thinking that it's interesting to me that when you started to read it, I know that I've brought this up before, and it's kind of something I guess I need to think more about, you know, about what I'm trying to express and how I'm trying to express it. But being female, I don't really think about being female. I just am. I don't walk around really conscious of that any more than I walk around conscious of the fact that I have dark hair. It's not something that is something I think about. And so I notice when I'm in the presence of someone who keeps bringing it up because they make me think about it, and it's not something I normally think about.
Yeah.
When I encounter a kind of hyper focus on my gender, that's when I start to think to myself, what's the issue? Because I don't have this. I'm not hyper focused on my gender, so I don't know why someone else would be. And also, when I'm in that group, like I walk into a room, it's not that you couldn't pull me out, 15 minutes after I walk in and ask me if anybody else in there was male or female. I could probably answer that, but I don't think about it. It's not something, you know what I mean? It would be like saying, was there anybody blonde in the room? I could probably think for a minute and say, you know what? There wasn't. No, I don't remember seeing any blondes in the room. But I don't think about, I'm not taking a head count of blondes and brunettes when I walk in, and I don't take a head count of men and women. I don't notice this as as a forefront of my head thing. And so when she's describing the idea that I don't think about this when I'm in a group, I totally understand that concept if I don't think about it in the group. But if I was in a group of males and I was being approached for sex, I would think about my gender. That would cause me to think about my gender. I can't sit there and say, I'm not cognizant of the gender difference and then say that this is like a sexual meeting, or this is about my mind, but this is a sexual meeting. And it's like, so I'm kind of with her on the idea of, I don't really see this as like males and females. And when I'm in a group with all males, I'm not really thinking of that. If it's somebody that I like to talk to or whatever, it doesn't matter if I go to the atheist happy hour on Thursday night at Dog and Duck and there are no women there. I don't think about that. I just think about, oh, there's so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and that's fine. I'll sit down and talk. And whoever's there, I talk to. But if the guys were hitting on me, it would be hard to have a conversation and to be not keep thinking of gender differences. That would be difficult. So I'm having trouble understanding the context that she's describing of these meetings where there is not this focus on gender and yet there's these sexual interactions going on. That's hard for me to reconcile, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not like, people should be able to meet up at conferences and such and flirt and whatnot. But if you are going somewhere and you are the only woman and 2, 3, 4, 5 guys all try to hit on you, in the same night or over a couple nights, you do start to think about, is this the only thing I'm here for? And one of the things is you'll bring up, we need more women in the group. And I say that we need more women in atheism because we need more people in atheism.
Yeah.
And particularly because religion is extra harmful to women. But, you know, when I say we need more women and the first thing out of a guy's mouth is, oh yeah, I really would like an atheist girlfriend, or we need more girls to date, or something like that, that's not why you need more women. Now, that's a good side benefit. I really empathize with guys who, they go out there and they cannot find anybody but Christian women. But that's not the reason, and that doesn't need to be the focus. You know, you can tell generally if a person is interested, if they're flirting back.
It's just a side note. It's super skeezy to want to change someone so that you can date them. Like, can you imagine? Just think about how much flack, you know, women get saying stuff like, "Oh, he's just perfect. He's so perfect, but I need to change this one thing about him." You don't do that. You got to go out looking for people as they are. So if you're saying, "Oh, I like women, but I got to change this thing about them," that's kind of a skeezy thing to do. And so that really shows something more about you than about women. Okay, tangent rant.
I don't think it's as much I've got to change this because I don't like this. It's this thing is harmful and this is the rational thing to believe. You know, atheism. These people are believing something that's irrational. They should all change. And I can't be with somebody who's not rational like that. And I just wish more women were rational like that.
Well, it's equally irrational to leave your socks out on the floor and not put them in the hamper. I mean, it's not equally, but it's another irrational thing. People are irrational. And you shouldn't want to change them just so that you can date them. Just so that it's tolerable to date them. If you want to change them because it's a dumb thing to believe in, then that's great, you know. But if you're just changing them so that they're okay enough for you to have sex with, then that's not okay.
It's the difference between objectifying. If you want more women in atheism because you want more atheists and more critical thinkers and it's good for the world and stuff, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's objectifying to say this woman or these women should be atheists so that I can have a girlfriend. Yeah. Not because it's beneficial to them or anything like that.
Well, yeah, right. I think this isn't... Yeah, I mean, outside of even a gender issue, we get this question to the TAE email list a lot, where people will write in and say, how do I talk to my partner or my girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, whatever, about their religion? They have these beliefs, these religious beliefs, and I'd like to talk to them so that, you know, maybe I can... And there's a clear implication, maybe I can change them. And if I respond to those emails, I say, and how would you feel if they kept preaching to you? Like, how would you feel if they were constantly bringing up their religion and trying to convert you to Catholicism or convert you to Baptist or, you know, whatever it is that they are? What if they were constantly bringing that up and saying, oh, if you could only just be more open-minded about this, and why can't you just accept this? And will you read the Bible more? And I'm like, you know, would that fly? Seriously? If that wouldn't fly, if you wouldn't like that, then don't do that to your partner. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. Don't do that to somebody. It's like Lynnea is saying. If that's a deal breaker, then just tell them, I'm sorry, but your religion is a deal breaker and I gotta go. If it's not a deal breaker, then drop it. Drop it. Unless you're thinking of having kids and you think it's going to be a problem if you have kids, drop it. And say, you know what, I don't like the religion thing, but it's acceptable. If it's not acceptable, end it. If it is acceptable, accept it. If you can't talk about it, don't. If you can talk about it, do. You know, but don't go into it saying, this is only going to fly if this person will drop their religion. Because that's no better than them coming into it saying, if I can convert him over to Catholicism, then this'll work. I would feel unhappy to find out that's what my partner thought. It wouldn't make me happy.
Exactly. Thank you for putting it so eloquently, Tracie.
Tracie always does. So
there are a few other things in this. One of them is she mentions, you know, if people get offended about this, you know, so the fuck what? Someone will always be offended by jokes. And I think that there's an important point to be said there, because if you make offensive jokes about religion, you know, religious people are dumbasses, Catholics are child rapists, there's a reason why those are okay and maybe productive. And that's because these people are, you know, actively causing harm. These people are actively believing in these things that don't make sense, that deserve ridicule. These, you know, people who believe in Noah's Ark. That's funny shit. But being a female is not something of deserving of ridicule. And, you know, the same thing, you know, being a male is not deserving of ridicule. There's no reason why you should feel it's okay to offend someone for being female, for being male. You can feel okay about offending someone for believing in talking snakes and, you know, magical sky pixies and that we came from dirt. 'Cause those are just dumb things, and those ideas deserve ridicule, but it's not okay to think that, you know, wanting to feel comfortable is deserving of ridicule, or, you know, your genitalia is deserving of ridicule. That's just ridiculous. So.
And it's not that, you know, women need to be sheltered, or that they're weak, or that they can't handle being hit on, or that they can't handle dirty jokes, or anything else that we're going to be talking about. But, you know, if I don't like an atmosphere somewhere, I won't go back. That's
how it gets handled. Yeah. That's part of how it gets handled.
It doesn't change. Like, I don't particularly like happy hour. I mean, I've been there a couple times, and, you know, there's a bunch of people there that were talking about things I wasn't very interested in, and so I didn't come back. Not that I don't like happy hour, not that, you know, it's a horrible thing, but I didn't come back. So, if you want more women to come to your events and be active in your community and such, and women tell you that there's something they don't like, if, you know, multiple women are telling you something they don't like, well, you can either change it, or you can maybe add a different activity, or you can decide, fuck them, and, you know, we won't have women. But don't not change and then continue to bitch about women not coming if you've heard from women what the problem is.
Really, the only way that these kind of atmospheres will get better is from a lot of pressure to do so externally. These kind of sexist and demeaning things and this unfair pressure on women, the only way it'll go away is if multiple sources say, that's not cool. Don't do that. We're not going to accept that. That's really not cool behavior. And even getting to the point of kicking that person out until their behavior changes and they're allowed to be let back in. That's the only motivation that they're going to have to change. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, well, this is okay because everyone around me is saying it's okay and I enjoy it. I get benefits from it. So there has to be this pressure, and that's why we care so much about this. Is because if we don't exert this pressure and say, no, don't do that, then they're just going to keep doing it. Even if you respond to each thing on an individual basis and say, it was not okay when you did this one thing, it'll just get shrugged off because there's no reason for them to change in the future. And that's part of the reason why this is so important.
And this is not an issue of rights either. You have a right to ask women out. You have a right to be a dick. You have all these rights. Nobody's legally trying to take them away from you or anything, like I hear these guys talking. But, you know, different communities have different rules, and people will socially shun you if your behavior is offensive. you may still have a right to do it, but if people tell you that it's offensive, they don't like it, they don't want to associate with you, your rights have not been infringed.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, for me, one of the things that I think comes up that's a problem is that a well-timed piece of humor can be funny, even if it's off color. And I would never sit here and say that I have never laughed at a joke that was like relying on sexist stereotypes. And I have laughed at jokes that relied on racial stereotypes. And I've laughed, and a lot of times I'm laughing with a big group of people looking at a comedian who's making a lot of people laugh at the same types of jokes. And they're funny, funny people. And the reason their jokes are funny is because they are appropriate to a routine or to something that's going on. They're hitting on something that everybody relates to. That entire crowd of people that's roaring at that comedian that's up there talking about sexist things, racist things, and everybody's laughing. And everybody's laughing because this is not a bigot up there giving a speech about bigotry and racial hatred and, misogyny. It's a comedian, and he's making really good jokes, and he's relying on things that people understand as stereotypical things, and he's funny. And you can make jokes that are funny, and everybody connects with that and says, you'll see the larger group say, oh, that was well-timed, that was well-placed based on the context that this brought this into being, this statement or this joke. What I think happens sometimes is that people hear somebody talking about something like this and they just think, oh, this women don't have a sense of humor. They can't laugh at this kind of humor. And it's like, no, I totally can laugh at this kind of humor. And I do laugh at this kind of humor. What I don't laugh at is when somebody keeps bringing it up and it's not funny. That's a whole different thing. If you're the guy that's making, jokes like this and you throw them in just like you throw in any other joke and everybody roars because you're a legitimately funny guy, you're probably not the problem. The guy that's the problem is the guy that keeps making the comments and the women are all rolling their eyes and the guys are kind of looking uncomfortable and everybody at the table is just like, oh my gosh, why did he say that? This is the guy. If you haven't had that experience, then it's possible that you're in a group that doesn't have that guy. But there are groups that have that guy, and I've been at the table with that guy. And it's not the normal dude making a legitimately funny joke, and it's not the normal guy who knows how to ask out a woman without her thinking, well, how did I get cornered by this person? There are some people who just, I don't know. I don't know if it's just socially awkward. I don't know. I don't know what to say to them other than this is not just the normal guy. This is not the average man that does this. The average guy is sitting at the table also just looking embarrassed, like, oh, he's embarrassing me. And I've seen this occur.
I've seen it too.
And I don't want men to get the idea that this is like something that women see as like a general male thing, because it's not. I think in general, when a man tells a sexist joke around me and it's well-timed and everybody's laughing, I'm probably laughing too. This is not what I'm talking about. And this is not the type of guy that we're talking about.
Right. And if you're listening to GB, you're probably okay. I'm not going to say 100%, but
we get mail.
We do get mail, and we're probably going to get so much mail, which bitches at atheist-community.org.
Yeah. And I just want to say, too, anybody can be that inappropriate person. It just so happens that this conversation is centered around, like, sexism and females feeling comfortable at these meetings, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I'm looking at this particular thing. But you could have a female there making racist comments. And people saying, wow, this is really uncomfortable. I mean, it could be anything.
That's another point that I wanted to make about this person who did it, is she did a very good job of proving that you don't have to be a man to be sexist. Women can be just as sexist as men. And
it sounds to me, women can be inappropriately sexual in groups too. Always being the one with the dirty jokes and the, comments. And I'm not going to say that she necessarily does that, but possibly, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't even know if I want to go there. But there was one other thing I wanted to say about your right to say something. Whenever someone says, oh, I've got a right to do this, there's this, so there's a bunch of movie theaters here in Austin and some other places in Texas called the Alamo Drafthouse. And they have a whole bunch of commercials that are just like, don't talk during the movie. And one of their commercials that they have is this woman was texting during the middle of a movie and they kicked her out. So she called in and left this angry voice message. Oh, I've got a right to text. How dare you kick me out? This is the United States of America.
I think she called it the Magnited States of America.
Magnited States of America.
It was pretty good.
I was not aware I could not text in your theater. I've texted in every other theater. And it's that same kind of reaction that's just so ridiculous because that's not an acceptable behavior. You're ruining things for people around you who are trying to enjoy this nice movie. And all she could think was, I have a right to do this. And it's like, well, I mean, I guess technically, legally, you got a right to text, but they own the place and they can kick you out. And their right to say, we don't want to associate with you.
Yeah, and I want to add that too. There's like this weird damned if you do, damned if you don't thing that I see. Yeah. Where there's this idea that, like what you're describing, and like I said, this is not just the average person saying I have a right to be the average person. This is the dick saying I have a right to be a dick. And so the person says I have a right to be a dick, and you say, okay, fine, I'm not going to hang out with you. And then they say, what's up your ass? Why don't you want to hang out with me? Like, what's wrong with you? You're going to get all... And it's like, wait a second. I have a right to not hang out with you if I think you're a dick. But you can't sit there and say that you have a right to have me hang out with you. I mean, that's just stupid. So if I don't like how you're acting and I don't want to hang with you, problem solved. Act how you like. I'm not hanging with you. I'm happy. You're happy. Not a problem. So that to me is kind of the thing. It's like if you want to pull that, if you want to say I got a right to be how I want to be, that's fine. But then don't turn around and get all offended when somebody says, well, then I'm not hanging with you. That's their right too. So be how you like, but don't be pissed off when people say, I don't like how you are and I don't want to hang with you because you're not cool. And it's just that to me is so crazy.
And that's what we're saying as a group, or we're saying needs to happen as a group. When you behave this way, the group needs to say that's not okay. You're not invited to hang with us while you put on that kind of behavior. And
I'd like to add something just about like a person checking themselves for prejudices. It's not coming to grips with the fact that you harbor a prejudice is not a fun thing. It's not flattering to realize when you've got a prejudice. And I've had to deal with this, like, personally a couple times in my life where it was put in my face that I was behaving in a way that was prejudiced and I did not recognize it. And when I had to stop and think about it, I was like, wow, I really do have this weird divide because of this difference with this other person. And it's not right, and it's not fair, and it's not valid, it's not supported. It's like just an irrational prejudice that I was raised with, and I have not questioned it before. And one of the things that I was prejudiced about, and I hate talking about it because I'm ashamed of it, but I just want to say it's in my past, and that I acknowledged it, and I dealt with it, and I recognized it, and I put it to bed. And so please, know that this is something that I'm only bringing up because I want to say this is how people should not be. And if you are this way, you need to not be this way because, it was a hard thing for me to acknowledge and something that I did. And so anyway, I had this thing about weight. And when I would, like, if somebody was doing something that I didn't like, suddenly, somehow, fat came into my head if they were overweight. This is so wrong. Okay? This is so wrong. It's like my hyperfixation and prejudice about somebody else's weight, and then they do something I don't like, and suddenly in my head, their weight becomes like a negative issue, where it didn't matter at all before. And suddenly when I want to, in my head, attack that person, don't like that person, suddenly this thing that has nothing to do with the issue at hand becomes this hyper-focused negative thing in my own brain. And when you see that happen, when you think to yourself, like, these weird, if you get mad at a female and you start thinking about feminine insults, know that this should be a red flag to you in the same way that it was a red flag to me that, wait a second, why is this person's weight an issue for me when I have this other problem with them? Why? Really? Does that make any sense at all? And no, it doesn't. And when you get upset with somebody and they're a different race, they're a different weight, they're a different, gender, whatever, if you latch on to that difference as like an immediate negative focus, you might be prejudiced. And just be aware of that. Because even if you're a really rational person, you can still have these prejudices and not be really totally aware of them. And sometimes the way they manifest is clearer to other people than to you. And you don't see them as clearly as somebody observing. So just think about that. And if that's, do you do that or do you not? And if you do, just consider that there might be something going on you might want to look at.
That's a really good example, and I'm glad you were able to overcome it.
Thank you.
And I'm glad.
And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that I ever thought that way. But I've gotten past it, and I really am ashamed of myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel a lot of us had to overcome something, I'm sure, in our past.
Yeah.
And we overcame it. That's the thing. We worked at it, and we thought, this doesn't make sense.
Well, I think the thing that was really even worse for me is that my best friend for like almost all my life is overweight. And so, I mean, how horribly insulting is that? And it's like, it never seemed like a negative thing between me and her because I never got upset with her because she's my best friend. But I knew once I saw it, I was like, how can I be this way and call her my friend? And then this is what I think about it. I couldn't reconcile it. There was no way. It was wrong.
And you said there's no reason for it. It's not rational.
Not at all.
That's why this is so important for us being in the rational, skeptical, atheist community, that this irrational behavior gets called out for what it is. We recognize that, there's problems in every group, but we wouldn't expect it from people who are intelligent. Just like, if there was an atheist who came up to me and was like, oh, I believe in, what's something ridiculous? Acupuncture. I would be like, oh, really? So
we're going to get mail.
About acupuncture?
Probably.
I've had souls. Can we swap out souls? That would probably get less mail about that. But yeah, I've had like atheists tell me they believe in souls but not in God.
If you're going to say it's a placebo, then okay,
well,
whatever.
Look at Buddhists. Right? I mean, they've got the whole thing. So, yeah, you can have a soul or afterlife belief and not believe in God.
That's just weird.
I agree, but it will get less mail.
Okay.
So
acupuncture does not work.
Yeah. We're
there. We'll get it anyway. I don't care.
There you go.
Homeopathy too.
Yeah. So
Rebecca Watson, Ron Paul, and public breastfeeding. There, send us mail.
Okay.
I put that out as a status just to see what would happen because those are
I think I saw that.
Those are the three things that apparently get tons of stuff on my wall. So
that's beautiful. Just start doing like streams of
that's what I was gonna do.
Don't even make a statement. Just list crap that's volatile.
Yeah, just list crap and get people. Actually, a circumcision fight started in that thread.
I'm actually thinking that what would be cool would be to just start listing like random things, like 3 or 4 different random things, and just list them, and then say comment.
We could do that. We should do that.
Yeah. Someone was saying that female circumcision was medically.
Oh yes.
Oh come on.
Oh,
was a medical good thing.
Was on Feringula.
Wow.
I did post that. Well, no. Feringula posted about a story.
No, I'm sure. No, I didn't think
yes.
PZ has come out in favor of I did not think that.
So I'm going to try to find that, but it was, I believe, an imam or something.
I was going to say it has to be an Islamic push from somewhere.
Although there are some minor African religions that do that in other places. I post so much crap that
once they start selling a thing like that, it's the thing that kills me is they start picking up a secular base. There's always like people in the secular realm that are ready to like adopt a thing like that and say, "Oh yeah, I heard that this was medically helpful," and then they just like drink the Kool-Aid.
It's totally not.
And it's like, no, this is a religious argument. They've made up these apologetics and you've bought them.
And it's like, even if there was some kind of circumstance where a female absolutely needed to get a circumcision, I think I would be okay waiting for that point.
Well, if you have, like, some kinds of vulval cancer, you have to get your...
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a situational thing, and I would want to know what was going on, but I certainly wouldn't be crazy with the scalpel.
I mean, you wouldn't get your appendix removed preemptively.
Actually, some people do.
People do?
Yes.
But they make that decision themselves. I mean, you don't have, like, you don't have babies. I don't know.
Right. Well,
yeah, I think we talked about that before, the idea that if an adult wants to do something like that, it's just body modification.
Yeah, but he was just lying, though. He was just lying.
Okay, apparently Free Thought Blogs is down right now.
Man.
They've been having problems intermittently. So, yeah, we can't really say that story, except I'll say that it had something to do with rancid secretions collecting around the clitoris, and the clitoris growing in size up to 3 centimeters during arousal, which could annoy the man during intercourse.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous
I was just thinking, if I had 3 centimeters, I'd be proud. Be like walking around with it.
Whip out the measuring stick.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't even know. That's just so fucked up. And yes, rancid secretions. I just want to say that because I just want to make somebody throw up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're showering every day and there's something like that going on, you need to go see a doctor. And I mean, there could be a problem, but I don't know.
Well, it's just the same justification. Like, oh man, you can't get a boy to wash his dick, so an uncircumcised pussy, well, that must be all nasty too.
You know, there's like some cloth wipes you can buy if you're having a problem. Just, you know, you might want to
detachable shower head.
Yeah. Knock yourself out.
It's not that hard to clean your junk. It really isn't.
Nope.
Yeah, and it was just horrible. It was horrible, and I can't read the quotes right now.
Oh, bummer.
So, but yes, no genital mutilation. Y'all know our position on that.
Leave the kids intact.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So it seems like it's that time, winding down.
Aw.
Anybody have any closing thoughts?
No. Oh, Tim Tebow is a dumbass.
Is that news?
Not really, but it's a closing thought.
Okay. Tim Tebow's a dumbass.
He could be one of the people in the random post. Tim Tebow. Just his name.
Oh, that would get so much.
Tim Tebow, apple trees, basketball. There you go. Comment.
Oh, apparently he is making Christianity cool along with Justin Bieber.
I was going to say, I thought that was Justin Bieber. Okay, so it's both of them. Just like
both of them are making Christianity cool. I forgot where that came from, but probably one of the crazy Christian blogs I look at every fucking day.
Well, I just know that I'm just glad that, you know, God is looking out for football wins. And, you know, it's like children that are starving. That's too bad, but Tim Tebow, he won.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if that little African child was Christian, then God would help him too. So, deserves what he gets.
And Google Santorum. That's my closing thought.
Yeah. Ooh,
Fun.
Do you have a closing thought, Tracie?
No, that was pretty much it. The African starving kid who deserves it because Tebow won.
Okay. Bitches at atheist-community.org is how you can contact us. We also have a Facebook page. We will get to the church sign contest soon. Working on that now. Entries, I guess, are still open. Maybe one more week. All right. Well, thank you for listening. This is Godless Bitches. This is Beth signing out.
Lynnea signing out.
Tracie signing out.